Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nastapradeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naisriki. Today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 4, Ambrisha Maharaj offended by Durvasa Muni. Text 1 to 17. Sukadev Goswami said, the son of Nabhaga named Nabhaga lived for a long time at the place of his spiritual master. Therefore, his brothers thought that he was not going to become a Grihastha and would not return. Consequently, without providing a share of him, they divided the property of their father among themselves. When Nabhaga returned from the place of his spiritual master. They gave him their father as his share. Text 2. Nabhaga inquired, my dear brothers, what have you given to me as my share of our father's property? His elder brother answered, we have kept our father as your share. But when Nabhaga went to his father and said, my dear father, my elder brother had given you as my share of the property, the father replied, my dear son, do not rely upon their cheating words. I am not your property. Text 3. Nabhaga's father said, all the descendants of Angira are now going to perform a great sacrifice, but although they are very intelligent on every sixth day, they will be bewildered in performing the sacrifice and will make mistakes in their daily duties. Text 4 and 5. Nabhaga's father continued, go to those great souls and describe two Vedic hymns, pre-training to uh, Vyasadeva. When the great sages have completed the sacrifice and are going to heavenly planets, they will give you the remnants of the money they have received from the sacrifice. Therefore, go there immediately. Thus Nabagas acted exactly according to the advice of his father, and the great sage of Angira dynasty gave him all their wealth, and they went to the heavenly planets. Text 6. Thereafter, while Nabagas was accepting the riches, a black looking person from the north came to him and said, all the wealth from this sacrificial arena belongs to me. Text 7. Nabhagas then said, these riches belong to me. The great saintly persons have delivered them to me. When Nabhaga said that, the black looking person replied, let us go to your father, and asked him to settle our disagreement in accordance with the Nabhaga's inquired from his father. Text 8. The father of Nabhaga said, whatever the great sages sacrificed in the arena of the Daksha Yajna, they offered to Lord Shiva as his share. Therefore, everything in the sacrificial arena certainly belongs to Lord Shiva. Text 9. Thereupon, after offering the obeisances to Lord Shiva, Nabhaga said, O worshipable Lord, everything in this era of sacrifice is yours. This is the inheritance of my father. Now, with great respect, I bow my head before you, begging your mercy. Text 10. Lord Shiva said, whatever your father has said is truth, and you also are speaking the same truth. Therefore, I, who know the Vedic mantra, shall explain the transcendental knowledge to you. Text 11. Lord Shiva said, now you may take all the wealth remaining from the sacrifice, for I gave it to you. After saying this, Lord Shiva, who is most adherent to the religious principle, disappeared from that place. Text 12. If one hears and chants or remembers the narration in the morning and evening with a great attention, he certainly becomes learned, experienced in understanding the Vedic hymns, and expert in the self realization. Text 13 from Nabhaga's Maharaj Ambrisha took birth. Maharaj Ambrisha was an exalted devotee, celebrated for his great merits. Although he was cursed by an infallible Brahmana, the curse could not touch him. Text 14. King Parikshit inquired, O great personality, Maharaj Ambrisha was certainly most exalted and meritorious in character. I wish to hear about him. How surprising it is that the curse of the Brahmana, which is insurmountable, could not act upon him. Text 15 and 16. Sukadev Goswami said, Maharaj Ambrisha, the most fortunate personality, achieved the rule of the entire world consisting of the seven islands and achieved inexhaustible, unlimited opulence and prosperity on earth. Although such a position is rarely obtained, Maharaj Ambrisha did not care for it at all. For he knew very well that all the opulence is material, like that which is mm, in again in the dream. Such opulence will ultimately be destroyed. The king knew that any non devotee who attains such opulence merges increasingly into the material nature's modes of darkness. Text 17. Maharaj Ambrisha was a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, and of the saintly person who are the Lord's devotees. Because of this devotion, he thought of the entire universe as being as insignificant as a piece of stone. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna, Sri Krishna Das Prabhuji, please accept our humble obeisances. All goes to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Prabhuji, please take over the call, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Radharani Mataji. Thank you very much for reading today's Bhagavatam section, slokas translations. Hare Krishna all. Thank you all for joining for today's Bhagavatam session. We'll start with prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Chakshuruन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Namo Vishnudaya Krishnapeshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatadeshatarani Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktarunda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you, Sundarama Prabhu, for giving this opportunity to share a few points from Srila Prabhupada's purports and what I heard from other devotees for my own purification. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th Canto, 4th chapter, Ambarish Maharaj offended by Durvasmuni. So from slokas 1 to 17. So just to give a background, we're in the section of the current Manu's dynasty. So in the last chapter, we heard one of the son of current Manu, Shabda or Vaivashvata Manvantara. So his name is Devagna Saryati. So we heard about him, how so he had a wonderful daughter called Sukanya. And one day when they went to the ashram of Chavanamuni, the Sukanya, seeing the two glowing substance within a hole of earthworms, so by the will of Providence, she pierced these two glowing substances, and due to that, the blood came out, and because of that, the king Saryati or his companions all suffered from constipation. And then king found out the reason that Sukanya was the cause of this misfortune. And then they all went to the Chavanamuni and offered prayers, begging forgiveness and also understanding his desire to satisfy him. So he offered his daughter Sukanya to Chavanamuni in marriage, who is a very old man. of course, later Sukanya served him very nicely. And one time when Ashwini Kumars came from the heavenly planet, Chavanamuni requested them to give him back his booth. And then these Ashwini Kumars, they took him to the lake and then they had a bath. And due to that, Chavanamuni regained his youth. So, and then of course we saw that, when King Saryati came to the Chavanamuni ashram and saw that this youthful personality next to his daughter. So he felt very unhappy. And then later Sukanya narrated how her husband became youthful like that. And then Chavanamuni performed, engaged King Saryati in performing the Soma Yajna as a reciprocation and gave the Ashwini Kumaras to the privilege to drink Somarasa. Though Indra is very angry on this, but he could not do anything because of Chavanamuni's power. And then we also heard about how Mother Revati got married to the Baladev. So, and in this chapter, we'll hear about the another son of Manu, so Maharaj Nabhaga. And his son is Nabhaga, and later Maharaj Ambarish history, and then how Durvas Muni offended Amarish Maharaj. So those are all we'll hear in this chapter. So this is a new chapter and very wonderful. So we'll go through the slokas 1 to 17. The first sloka we see that Sukadeva Goswami is mentioning about the dynasty of Nabhaga. So Nabhaga's son is Nabhaga. So he lived for a long time at the place of his spiritual master. And what his brothers thought that so he's not going to come to return to home and become a grihastha. So that's why what they did is, without keeping a share for him, so they divide the property of their father among themselves only. So they didn't keep a share for his brother Nabhaga, who is in the spiritual master ashrama, thinking that he will not return. So he will not become a grihastha. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that the two kinds of brahmacharis. So one kind of brahmachari is they'll go to the guru ashramam and get education, and then with the permission and blessings of the guru and then parents, they will enter into the grihastha ashrama. But there is other type of brahmachari where they will remain as a brahmachari till the end of the life, like perpetually. So they're called Naistika brahmachari, or they're called Bruhatvarata brahmacharis, like that. So we also hear in the life history of our Srila Prabhupada's guru, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So he's also Naistika brahmachari. So at the age of 16, he formed a group with his friends, and they all took a vow of celibacy entire life. But I heard only Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur fulfilled that vow. So rest of them got married at some point. So that's, of course, it's very challenging and difficult to maintain that celibacy rest of the life. But there are some great personalities who can remain as the Naistika brahmachari. And then instead of they coming back to home and become as a grihastha, they take up the sannyasi from the brahmachari directly. So similarly, here Nabhaga, so he stayed for a long time in the spiritual master's ashrama. So what their brothers thought that so he's going to be a Naistika brahmachari. So that's why they did not keep any share for him. So they themselves divided. And here we see that they gave him their father as share. When Nabhaga returned, so instead of giving his share, but they gave him their father as share. So it looks like the sharing of the parents' property issues were there from Satyuga itself. Of course, maybe in Satyuga there is a little bit here and there, and they may not go into the disputes or fightings like that. But in Kali Yuga, as we progress, We see that, there is great fightings between own brothers and sisters in sharing the parents' properties. So in the next sloka, you see that and when Nabhaga inquired, so his brothers, what they have given to him as a share, so they told that they kept father as his share. So they didn't want to give any money or wealth other than the old father. And when Nabhaga went to his father and asked, so that his brothers gave him as the share of his property, and father replied that they are cheating him. I am not your property. So of course, in this material world, most of the conditioned living entities, so they have these four defects, and one of them is cheating. So this cheating propensity may vary from person to person, but this is something that is commonly seen in this material world and most of the conditioned living entities. So that's why, because the conditioned living entities in this material world has defects, so whatever the knowledge that they come up or they manipulate or they manufacture, so it's not going to be correct unless it matches the our scriptures. So that's why Acharya stresses to follow the Shabda Praman, so which is coming from the Supreme Lord through the unbroken disciplic section. So instead of following our own Pratyaksha Pramana. And then what Nabhaga father is saying, third sloka, that all the descendants of Angira, so they are performing a great sacrifice. So they are very intelligent. But what happens is every sixth day, they will be bewildered in performing sacrifice and make mistakes. And Prabhupada mentions in the purport that this Nabhaga is very simple-hearted. Of course, this is one of the wonderful quality of a devotee. So he is very simple-hearted and truthful. So this pleases the Supreme Lord also. If one has the simplicity and there is no duplicity, then it will please Supreme Lord Krishna. So therefore, he went to his father. When he went to his father, the father, seeing his simplicity, so out of compassion, he suggested how he can earn the wealth for his livelihood. So he told that go to uh, uh, the sacrifice place where these descendants of Angira are performing, and take advantage of their misgivings, because they are going to make mistakes. So take advantage of that and help them out in performing the yajna. So his father is also very pleased seeing the simplicity of this. So it doesn't have a duplicity. Like we saw in the case of Balimara's section also, Sukracharya has a duplicity. Like, he tells one thing, but when the time comes to act, he doesn't act. So he says that, everything has to be done for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. But when the time comes to act, so not only he does, but he is also stopping his disciple Bali Maharaj for not giving in charity what Supreme Lord asked. And also I read somewhere that this descendants of Angira, though they are intelligent, why they are make the mistakes? Because there was a curse on the descendants of Angira, because one of the previous generation person, so he offended a great rishi. So because of that, that great rishi cursed, saying that so their descendants will be bewildered in performing sacrifice or their daily duties. So that's why they make their mistakes. So that's why I see that, if the Brahmanas who are performing the yajnas, if they make mistakes, then the result of that yajna will not come accurate. So we heard that pastime in the sixth canto also, like where this Twasta, uh, uh, when he became angry on Indra and he wanted to kill, so he performed a great sacrifice, hoping that so he will produce a personality who can kill Indra. So for that, he has to chant the mantra Indra Satro. So in the short version, but instead of the short version, he pronounced the long version Indra Satro, like that. So due to that, a person who can be killed by, who can kill Indra, instead of that, so a person who will be killed by Indra came appeared. So that's the result is completely opposite. So that's why qualified brahmanas are required to perform the yajnas. So since in Kali Yuga, the qualified brahmanas to perform the yajna is not available, so Supreme Lord very mercifully gave the simple process. Kalau tad hari kirtanat. Chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So this is introduced by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this Kali Yuga. And Bhagavatam mentions that if somebody is very intelligent, Sumedha Saha, they will take up this process and make their human life successful. In the text 4 and 5, so Nabhaga, the Nabhaga's father continued saying that, so he gave the two Vedic hymns pertaining to Vaishwadeva, so where he can help out to performing this yajna successfully. And then the great sages, after completing the sacrifice, they'll go to heavenly planets, and whatever the money that they have received through that sacrifice, so they will deliver it to you. So in those days, when the yajna is performed, so whoever is performing, so they will give the charity very liberally to the brahmanas who perform the yajna. I heard Lord Ramachandra, when he's performing yajnas in Treta Yuga, so whoever performed the yajna, to those brahmanas used to give the whole kingdom as a charity. So of course, those days the brahmanas very self-satisfied, and they are very simple living. So they return back the kingdom that is given by Lord Ramachandra to him only, because he can rule the kingdom very nicely and make the citizens very satisfied, and also they can progress in the spiritual path. So it requires a great wealth and so much ingredients to perform the yajnas. It's very difficult to perform those yajnas in those days, in these days, in Kali Yuga. Therefore, in text 6, we see that Nabhaga, after accepting the riches, we see that the black looking person came, and he claimed that all that wealth belongs to him. Because we hear in the upcoming slokas is none other than Lord Shiva. So, and then Nabhaga said, this wealth has given by these saintly persons who performed the yajna. And then, but this black looking person said, so go to your father and ask him. So based on what he tells, we can make a decision. So then Nabhaga went to his father and he asked the wealth belongs to whom. And then the father of Nabhaga said that, this wealth which is offered in the Dakshagna, so they are all offered to the Lord Shiva. So that's why all that wealth belongs to the Lord Shiva. So in the next sloka, we see that so then Nabhaga came and offered the obeisance to Lord Shiva, and then he mentioned that all that wealth belongs to him only, and that is what his father said. And then he offered his humble obeisances. So seeing this is simplicity, truthfulness, and taking the art suggestions of the elders as it is, following it. So Lord Shiva is very pleased. And we see that in the next sloka, because he was very pleased, so he gave the highest benediction. What is that highest benediction? Giving the transcendental knowledge to him. So this is a very helpful and very important for any condition living entities to make their human life successful. So similarly, a sadhaka, when one pleases a great devotee or guru, so he will impart the knowledge. Upadhyakshante te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshinaha. So because they have seen the absolute truth, so they can impart that knowledge. So here also you see that Lord Shiva is saying that I who know the Vedic mantras. So Lord Shiva is one of the Mahajana and a pure devotee, Vaishnavana Matasyambhu. So he is very much interested actually giving Krishna conscious rather than the material wealth to whoever is looking for it or qualified. So that's why we see that in the earlier one of the canto also, Lord Shiva, he gives this wonderful knowledge to Prachetas also, who became great devotees. So here also, Lord Shiva gave this wonderful transcendental knowledge, Jnanam Brahma Sanatanam to Nabhaga. So that is the mood of these great devotees. So they want to help the conditioned living entities to whomever they come across, so that they can advance in Krishna consciousness and make their human life perfect. And we hear Prabhupada also mentions another pastime of Lord Shiva, that when one poor Brahmana, when he worshipped Lord Shiva and requested for a benediction, so Lord Shiva wanted to help him in a greater way than the material wealth. So he advised to go to Sanatana Goswami. And when he went to Sanatana Goswami took a touchstone which is in the garbage and gave it to him. And this poor Brahmana took it, and that because of the touchstone, which using that touchstone, if he touches something, that becomes gold. So he was very happy. But at the same time, he thought, if it is the highest benediction, why it is in the garbage? So he went to Sanatan Goswami and asked. And Sanatan Goswami said that yes, it is not the highest, but are you ready to take the highest benediction? He said yes. Then he told that throw this touchstone in the river and come, I'll give the highest benediction. Then he gave the highest benediction, which is the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So we are very, very fortunate. Of course, I'm talking to myself. We got this Mahamantra by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada and great personalities. But if we can take this process seriously, sincerely, then we can also achieve the most best out of this valuable human life, and then go back home, back to God. Of course, I'm talking to myself. And then Lord Shiva, after giving this transcendental knowledge, so he also gave all the wealth which is remaining from the sacrifice, and then he disappeared. Antartahaya. So he gave the Dravinam all the wealth, and also he disappeared from the place. So then we hear the Falaspriti also, like, whoever hears or chants this pastime, this narration, the morning and evening with great attention, so they will become learned, experienced in understanding Vedicums, and also become expert in self-realization. And then the dynasty continues, saying that from Nabhaga, who came Maharaj Ambarish. So he's exalted devotee and celebrated for his great merits. And Sukadeva Goswami is mentioning here, although he was cursed by infallible Brahmana, the curse could not touch him. And all the previous slokas, what was mentioned by the Sukadeva Goswami, are intended to bring us to the topic of this wonderful devotee, Ambarish Maharaj. Of course, we'll hear about his wonderful devotional qualities and activities in the future chapters and slokas. His great surrender to the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So all those things. And he's the perfect example for one who following all the limbs of the devotion. Shamanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, like that. All the limbs of the devotion that Amarish Maharaj showed how to follow it. And also he used all the limbs of his body in the service of Krishna. Savayamana Krishna Padara Vendayo, like that. He used the mind, engaged the mind in meditating at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Vacham Shivaikunta Gunanu Varnane. Like he used his tongue to chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, like that. So all these great narrations, details, or the activities of Ambarish Maharaj is very helpful and great inspiration for a practicing devotee. So to continue in this path and also advance in this path of Bhakti Yoga. Because when we hear about these great devotees, then we become inspired, and also we can take at least a little bit of what they are doing and implement in our life, then we can become successful. And in the 14th sloka, we see that Parikshit Maharaj is very inquisitive, very eager to hear the activities, the wonderful activities performed by Ambarish Maharaj. So he was saying that wanted to hear about him, and also he surprised how the curse of Brahmana, which is insurmountable, could not act upon him, because the Brahmana's curse is Brahma Danda Duratyaya. So it's very, it has a great power, so insurmountable. But still, we see that in the next upcoming slokas, how Maharaj Ambarisha so was able to cross over it, or that curse could not act upon him. So we see that in even in the case of Parikshit Maharaj also, this a small boy, Brahmana boy, Shringi, he cursed the Parikshit Maharaj that he will die in 7 days by the bite of snake bird, Takshaka, and it happened. So that means those days the Brahmanas words are very powerful. And I heard that because it has been misused by this Brahmana boy Shringi, so from that time the power of Brahmanas, or the words of the Brahmanas, that power is reduced because of misused. And there is a possibility that the misuse will happen more in Kali Yuga, so that's why it is reduced. But generally the words of Brahmanas are very powerful. The next two slokas, so Sukadeva Goswami is mentioning that Maharaj Ambaresh, a very fortunate personality, and we see that his even the material position. So he is the ruler of the entire world, consisting of 7 islands like that. But Maharaj Ambaresh, they did not care for it all, because he knew that everything is material and temporary. It will be destroyed. So anything material is a temporary, so it will be gone. So at the time of we leaving this body, so all the things that we accumulated in this material world, all the material things, so will be separated from us. So that's why the devotees doesn't give any importance to these material things. They will engage all of them in the service of Krishna consciousness. So they don't use it for their own sense gratification, and they will not be puffed up by the great position or the great wealth they have it. But here we see that the non-devotees, when they achieve all these things, then they merge increasingly into the material natures of modes. So that is the uh, power of this wealth or position, that it will affect a non-devotee, and they will become more engaged or submerged into the material wealth using. So that's why Mother Kunti says that Janma Aishwarya Sruta Stibir, like the high birth or Aishwarya or great education or the beauty. So they all are stumbling blocks in progressing the path of Bhakti Yoga. So instead they will keep us in this material world more and more and more and more like that. So the last sloka for today, Sukadeva Goswami is saying that Maharaj Ambarish is a great devotee and one of the saintly personality who are in the Lord's devotees. And because of this devotion, so he thought of the entire universe as being insignificant as a piece of stone. So we see that how the devotees looks any material things. So they don't use it for their own sense gratification. Instead, they engage in the service of Supreme Lord Krishna. So thank you all for giving this opportunity. I will pause it here for today. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। पंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। हरे कृष्णा।
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, all devotees for joining today. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.